This is a short tutorial on how to use RStudio in your web browser through the service RStudio Cloud in order to work through the problems in the lab manual. Here we are at the Psyc 3400 course website. Let's click into the lab manual. We've put some information about doing this in the R section under RStudio Cloud. Let's look there. Just a few quick steps. The first thing you need to do is sign up for an account at rstudio.cloud. You can follow this link. It will take you to this web page for RStudio Cloud. Go over here, sign up, it's free, and you can get started that way. We'll come back to this in a second. The other thing you need to do is download this zip file to your computer. So I'm right-clicking on this link. I'm saying, download this file, and I'll save it to my desktop. All right. There it is. We'll grab that later. Okay, so let's say you've got your account at RStudio Cloud. Now you can log in. And when you first get started, it should look something like this. So I've got a blank page here, no projects. What I want to do is I want to make a new one. So I've clicked Make New Project. And it's loading up for a little while. Sometimes it can take a little bit of time for this to load. And if it's taking too long, what I've noticed is just go back. Oh, there, it loaded. Great. So if it takes longer than that, I would say go back to your workspace here, and you will see your untitled project that you just created. And you can click that, and sometimes it loads up a little bit faster. First thing I'm going to do is give this project a name. Oh, didn't like that name. Let's just call it map. Great. Okay. Did that save? Yep, looks like it's working. Here we have an RStudio in the cloud, and that means that anything you do in here is going to get saved. So if we just quickly made a little document, for example, let's call it test.r, save it. It's being saved into our workspace. If we leave it or go out of it, when we go back in, we should see the stuff we did before is still there. That's great. I'm just going to delete this file. So if you're a student in my class and you're using RStudio in the computer labs, you could actually access RStudio through the web this way, and everything you do will be saved on the cloud, and you can access it the next time you come to lab, or you can access it at home. All right, the next thing we want to do is load in the templates and the data that we use for this course. So we're going to choose the Upload button. And what we want to do is upload the zip file that we downloaded. That was called rstudiocloud.zip. So I've chosen that one, and I'm pressing OK, and it's uploading the file. It needs to be a zip file because there's a couple of different folders in there. So we just have to wait for this to upload. And now we have a new folder with the data. This is all the data that we'll be using in the labs. And we have our lab templates that we'll be using. So if you wanted to get started with lab 1, what you want to do is copy this template. So I've clicked this template, and I'm going to choose the option to copy to. and I want to copy it to my project folder. And just press save. Now we can click back to the project folder, and we should see our file that we made. Here it is. Okay, now to make it your own, you could give it your own name. So for example, I'm just going to change this to my name. There we go. Now it's just for me. Now that we have everything in place, we could actually start working on the problems in the first lab. So we could click this file open, and we'll make a few more changes just to customize it. So we're changing the parts that say student name, putting in your own name. Let's just drag this down a little bit so we can see more of it. All right, all of this stuff we'll just leave the same. What you're going to be doing is going in here and adding new things to complete the labs. Well, I'll just leave that there for now. If you want to compile our Markdown document, you can press the knit button. Now watch what happens here. It's going to try to make this into something, but it tells us we need to install some more things. So we click yes. If we looked at the console, I think we should find that those packages are going to, oh, it looks like this. Okay, so some things are getting installed. Now the next time you open up your RStudio in the cloud, you won't have to do this because this part should be saved. After it installed all those packages, it rendered the document. So here is our empty Lab 1 template. Okay, let's work through Lab 1 just for a couple minutes to see how we could do some stuff here. So go back to Lab 1. There it is. Let's just scroll down. All right, it's telling us to run this bit of code to make that graph. Let's do that. So I'm going to copy that line. On a Mac, I'm doing Command-C. On a PC, you could do Control-C. I'm going to paste it into our document. Now, in order to run this as our code, we need to do a little sandwich. You notice that when we make this sandwich by writing 3 backticks and then a curly bracket followed by an R followed by a curly bracket, this is the top part of the sandwich. We put our code in the middle, and then we close the sandwich with 3 more of these backticks. Once we do that, something special happens. A little play button appears. That means we can run this code. Let me show you 2 ways to run the code. First, anytime you have some R code, you can always copy it and put it into the console and press enter. Okay, so we've run this code and it's made a graph and it's showing us the graph in the plots tab. Great. If we want to run the code in our document, we can just press the play button. And now it shows us the graph right here, which is pretty cool. You can minimize that if you want, or press X to make it go away. Now what's really neat about this document is that when you click the knit button, it's going to put your R code and the output into the document, which you can look at later. We can do some more customization. For example, it seems like we're making histograms, so I'm going to say make some notes for myself. How to make a histogram. These are the notes, and notice I've made a new title with 2 hashtags. That makes this a subheader underneath this big header. Now let's see what it looks like when we knit this document. Now histograms is in a bold, it's a subheader. We see our notes, which can be very helpful for telling us what the code means. And we see the output of the code. Also, anything that's a subheader is showing up in our table of contents, which is pretty cool. As your lab exercise gets longer, if you use the subheaders, this will show up in the table of contents. Let's keep going. What's next in the lab manual? Okay, get some data. Seems like we're going to get some data from the NYC Open Data website. And we need to run these 2 lines in order to do that. Let's copy the lines. Oops, there we go. Copy. Oops, clicked off of my web browser. Here we go, back into R. Now there, on a Mac, if you press Command Option I, or on a PC, if you press Control Alt I, you will create one of these little code blocks, and we can put our code in there. Okay, there's 2 parts to this code. The first part loads up a library that we need. The second part loads the data file, which is located in the data folder, and it's called filmpermits.csv. So for example, we have a data folder right here, and inside of it is the filmpermits.csv file. We're going to load this file into R. But watch, it's not going to work right away. First thing we want to do is try running this block of code. We get an error. There is no package called data table. Okay, what are we going to do? If we click the Packages tab, we can see all of the packages that we have installed in our RStudio. We want to add data table. To do that, we just click the Install button, type in data.table, there it is, and click Install. And you have to wait a little bit. We should see in the console here, there it is, it's installing data table. And once it's done installing, we should be able to use this package. Let's count to 10, let's say. Okay, it's done. Now you can see data table is listed here. There's a little checkbox and it's not clicked on. Well, what happens if we run this code now? Maybe just the first line. Let's take that first line, copy it into the console, press Enter. What we've done is turned on this library. And it just so happens that this library has this thing called fread inside of it that will help us load the data into this variable. Okay. Notice that we've created a new variable called NYC_films. And it's got a lot of stuff in it. If you click on it, we'll load the data into a data frame viewer. And you can kind of scroll through it. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here. Whoops. I think I just moved away from my RStudio. Well, let's go back to it. Notice it's saved everything from where we left off. That's pretty nice. Okay. So we've loaded and installed this package. We've now put some data into this variable. What else can we do? Well, it's saying here, let's look at the data. For now, we'll skip this. Let's just keep going. All right, so where are the most film permits being requested? Let's pop this part in. Copy. Oops. Back to our studio. And I'm just going to make some more room inside my code block and add this part in. Let's see if dplyr, this library that we need, is loaded. There's an error, no package called dplyr. We have to install this one too. The nice thing about RStudio Cloud is the next time you come back here, you won't have to reinstall these libraries. That's the same on your computer at home. And these libraries should already be loaded up in the lab computers for Psyc 3400. Okay, it's slowly installing. And if we, oh, there's a whole bunch more installing it needs to do. I'm not sure how much you need to fast forward through this, but eventually it will be done installing. There we go, it's done installing. So if I run this line of code by copying it into the console, we've now loaded the package, and we can do this thing. Copy that whole thing into the console and press enter. Now we've created a new variable called counts. And what's in it? Let's take a look. Well, we see 5 boroughs of Brooklyn, or of New York City: Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, and Staten Island. And these are counts. These are the number of film permits that have been requested in each of the different boroughs. Pretty neat. What else can we do? Let's keep going down. All right. So we see some more code. We might want to copy it in to our RStudio. See if we can make a plot of these counts. Well, again, ggplot2, this is another library we need. It's not installed, so let's install it. Maybe this one will be faster. But in the meantime, we can twiddle our thumbs. Looks like it found something to install. Okay, that didn't take too long. We will run the library, and we will run this little piece of code. All right, so we made a ggplot of showing bar graphs, showing bars for the number of permits in each of the boroughs. That's pretty neat. Also, If we press this button, it's going to do all of those things all at once. And oh, notice the graph disappeared, and there's no graph here. So sometimes you need to press it twice in order to see the graph show up inside the R Markdown document. Now, what I'm going to say is load some data and make a plot. This is another subheader. So if we knit the document now, it's going to compile everything. We'll see our histogram. We'll see a new section where we loaded some data. We see the code that we used to do this, and we see the output of the code. All right. Everything gets saved automatically. So the next time you come back to RStudio in the cloud, you can click your project, and it should load up, and it will show you what was there from last time. So for example, we go back here, and we can see that I made a new R Markdown file that's right here. All my work has been saved from what I did before. You might find this useful for Psyc 3400. All right, have fun.